During the First Crusade, the armies of the Church captured the Holy City. Beneath the most sacred of temples, the Knights Templar discovered hidden vaults. Within their shadowed depths lay an ancient demonic artifact. Overcome by the greed and the weakness in their hearts, Knights Templar fell to their knees. They had found their new lord. Witnessing the unholy wisdom revealed by the artifact, they turned to darkness, trafficking with devils and committing all manners of unspeakable rites. This was the ultimate heresy. Jerusalem was reduced to a depraved pit with the inferno seeped into our earthly realm. Hell and our mortal plane are now entwined in corruption. For 8 centuries, the Church has waged its crusade to take back the Holy City. The landscape has been utterly devastated, scarred by thousands of miles of trenches, mud, and craters. The war is now waged by armies wielding terrifying weaponry. Both sides command supernatural beings of such immense power that they are nigh unstoppable. Even with such incalculable might, the armies are at a stalemate. This is the Trench Crusade.
This is the only disclaimer. Behave in the comments. I've only ever had to time people out once so far, and so far I haven't deleted a single comment on this channel. But this setting revolves around religion, and if you're being an asshole, I'm just going to ban you from the channel. This isn't a safe space or some shit. I just don't want people being cunts around here. We good? All right, let's talk about dying and fighting for God. Also, yeah, I'm sorry, this isn't the orc video, and this video is also, looking at the time right now, late. I've been busy. It's all in the works, I promise. You'll probably get the orc video by Saturday this week. So, religion is complicated. It's a touchy subject, and it's been touchy for the last, like, looking at the calendar, 3,000 years, give or take. At least modern religions, Abrahamic ones. Specifically, Judaism, Christianity / Catholicism, and Islam. It's kind of wild historically how old these religions are, and I guess I'm specifically talking about Judaism here as it is the oldest. Not the point. Religion is a bit volatile in conversation. So is art to a degree. Art is subjective, that's the point, but there's some art that's just skirting the line of what is acceptable and what is abhorrent. Michelangelo and Banksy pop up in my head as artists who are openly criticized or reviled in their times, mostly for their opinions. When it comes to movies as a medium of art, I think of 2 things, which I'm gonna go ahead and say. Please do not watch these movies unless, like, I don't know, you're just already a mentally disturbed person, but I think of Salo, or 120 Days of Sodom, which is the actual translation, I believe, or the English translation. Or if we want to talk about stuff that's so controversial it created the resurgence of a hate group, The Birth of a Nation is another movie I think about every now and again. Art and religion can be touchy and controversial, and hell, they've both been intertwined with each other since basically day one. So, what happens when you take it to the next level? Enter Mike Francina, a concept artist and honestly just a fucking peak artist in general. He's worked with everybody from Blizzard to Games Workshop, mostly on concept art as far as I know. He also worked on Path of Exiles, I think. I don't know. That being said, these products have to reach a wider audience, which means that they have to be able to get past international censors. So, a lot of art and ideas that Mike had never got used. He started to work on something, I believe. I think it started off as just a collection of his very, hardcore art, shall we say, and eventually it became its own universe. I don't have any citation for where this was quoted, but my understanding is that Mike wanted to create a game or some sort of a product that would allow him to use his art and make it be fully realized without it being censored. He wanted to make a game or product that nobody wanted to realistically touch. And guess what? It's fucking real, and oh boy, is it fucking amazing. I just want to give an overview on Trench Crusade and why I love this setting so much. It's a breath of fresh air away from Games Workshop and Warhammer in general, but it has its own problems and it isn't perfect like some people would claim. Pretty sure nobody's claiming it as perfect, honestly, but that's besides the point. That being said, let's talk about how fucking cool this setting is. So, Trench Crusade is an alternate history World War I game set in a timeline where hell is real and has invaded mankind. Mankind is on the brink of annihilation every single day and is backed by heaven in a sort of cold war, while a faction of mortals who have fallen to hell in their devilish creations fight for the lords of hell and Satan himself. So how did this all start? Alright, remember when I said shit was controversial? It's time to talk about the First Crusade. The Emperor of Byzantine called for aid against the armies of Islam as there was an expansion of Islam into the Western world. Pope Urban II responded with a call to war. The First Crusade began, ending in the repelling of the armies of Islam and the capture of Jerusalem and the restoration of much of the Byzantine Empire. However, in 1099, when the First Crusade ended, the act of ultimate heresy was committed. The Knights Templar underneath the Holy City opened a portal to hell and were handsomely rewarded for their change in faith and the damnation of mankind. At first, things look bad, and to be frank, they still do, but over the course of 800 years, the faithful have held back the invasion of hell, but at a great cost. The ancient city of Antioch was reinforced as it became a focal point for the forces of mankind as they assailed the armies of hell and worked to destroy the first Hellgate. New Antioch at some point gets destroyed, and when all seems lost, mankind repaired the great city even as it was being invaded and assailed by the armies of the damned, and now New Antioch stands proud in defiance against the devils and its lechers. Someone has probably asked, why don't the forces of heaven assist? Well, remember when I said that this was a Cold War? What needs to be understood is that devils, demons, angels, and so forth cannot step foot on Earth. It is a pact between heaven and hell that mortals and their spawn will have to fight, but why? It mirrors a lot about the Bible, but we'll get into that a little bit later as we go ahead and just take a look at this world like, what the fuck? Really? These guys aren't demons. Okay, sure. It goes both ways though, but let's talk about the pact first now. So, this is a war, but in a way, it's also a game. Heaven and hell cannot intervene without one single fear: God. God can and will wipe out the earth and reset the world if forced to, and he has done it before, and he will do it again. There's a small excerpt of an angel descending on a city, and then it just fucking bio-nukes the entire city by landing on it because angels are stupidly powerful in this setting. Also, as a reminder, when angels show up, they tell people, be not afraid. Angels are very fucking strong. Once again, it's not an exaggeration. They nuke cities just by appearing in them. So, for the sake of there still being an earth to have, angels and demons are not allowed in the fight. So that's why God doesn't intervene. So then what's left? We're not going to get into the weird factions or the factions that don't have models like the Synod of Strategic Prophecy or the Church of Metamorphosis. So let's go ahead and start with New Antioch, my favorite faction next to the Heretic Legions. New Antioch is the rebuilt city of Antioch, which is a real city in real life, by the way. After an infernal hell nuke destroyed the old city, well, it's implied that it was a hell nuke, but nobody really knows, but it was definitely a fucking hell nuke. It is the bastion and the front line of the forces of the faithful against the forces of hell. It is basically Cadia, as much as I don't want to compare this to 40k. But that being said, New Antioch is far fucking cooler than Cadians, because rather than being Starship Troopers ripoffs, New Antioch is a bastion for all of Christendom. You have coked out Irish Catholic guerrilla fighters, Ethiopian Orthodox scouts who fight to free Africa, British demolition experts with enough satchel charges to kill God, and literally just the Swiss Guard who defend the interests of the Pope. It is literally the America of the setting. It is a melting pot of so many different cultures and ideologies who all fight and die together in the name of God and mankind. You can literally find Orthodox trench clerics blessing Ethiopian warriors before battle. Regardless of their denomination, all of these men and women fight together, and yes, women, once again, girls are able to hang in this universe when the boys are too. Once again, there are girls in this world who can hang with the boys, and shit, I might as well bring up Joan of Arc is a living saint in the lore of Trench Crusade, and she helped repel an entire faction out of mainland Europe. But that's more of the Synod of Strategic Prophecy and not really New Antioch, so what makes New Antioch special? Their units are pretty nutty. You have a yeoman, a lieutenant, a shock trooper, and that's like pretty standard guys, but then we get to the batshit crazy stuff, like sniper priests. People who ritualistically tear their eyeballs out because they fire their sniper rifles with full faith that God himself will guide the bullets towards their targets, and guess what? It fucking works. There's art, I think, of a sniper priest, and his sniper rifle doesn't have a scope, it just has a reliquary of a bone of a saint tied to the sights, because they have full faith that God will do his part. The man fires the gun, God guides the bullet. There's also the heavy mechanized infantrymen, humans who are not just souped up in power armor, but are also given insane amounts of drugs and chemicals to be able to wear the power armor and endure all the punishment that it's able to take as well. Oh right, martyrdom pills are a thing in the game, and it's literally just methamphetamine. Like, there's no meme, it's just meth. It makes you harder to kill. New Antioch's greatest strength is organization, and they're the most well-organized and well-armed of the fighting forces, and possibly the most well-trained in the setting. But what if you aren't well-trained? What if you're just Joe Schmo off the street? What if one day you just saw a vision and you just heard a voice speak out to you telling you to go out to no man's land and fight and die? What if you were a trench pilgrim? The untrained, zealous forces of Trench Crusade, the Trench Pilgrims march in great processions towards no man's land with as little as the clothes on their backs and their faith in God Almighty. This is where we have to talk about the Metachrist. What is a Metachrist? The Metachrist, or a Metachrist specifically, was a program created by the Mentalist Order of Monks. You can basically assume these guys are like scientists or alchemists. They're responsible for a lot of the weird pseudoscience, magic, alchemy stuff going on in the side of Christianity, at least. It is not fully stated what a Metachrist is, but it may or may not be a cloned body of Jesus Christ that they have mortal men and women feed off of their blood and flesh to mutate into super soldiers. One of two things came from the Metachrist program. The first is the Paladins, 12 superpowered beings that are of Primarch level, and if we want to compare this to 40k again at least, who take on missions to travel into hell itself to cause destruction and assassinate high-ranking devils. Fun fact about the 12 Paladins, Christ had 12 disciples, and one of the Paladins turned traitor, or is rumored to have, just like one of Christ's disciples. I just thought that was a really super fucking neat detail. 2 Paladins are dead, one is rumored to have turned traitor, and the technique used to create their arms and weapons has been lost to time, and now their gear works on borrowed time. They literally rip their gear off of their flesh, reforge it, and while it's still hot, put it back on the Paladins and it scalds and melts with their flesh. They are only ever used when the church deems the gains of victory outweighing the cost of losing a Paladin. So what are the other things that the Metachrist program have created? Communicants. In real life, the act of communion is where you eat the flesh and blood of Christ, bread and wine, to remember the sacrifice and the gifts that Christ has given mankind. In Trench Crusade, you literally eat the flesh and blood of a Metachrist and become something awful, good. It depends on what side of the river Styx you're on. Communicants are a great benefit to have. They are mutated super soldiers that have either insane strength, disturbing accuracy, or something else in between or out of this world. Trench Pilgrims love these guys so much that they're trying to steal them outright from the Order of Mentalist Monks. But a fun fact about the Metachrist is that they all do something different. So stigmata, right? It's the holes in the hands of Jesus Christ when he was, stabbed into the cross itself, and they're usually depicted as either, never healing or constantly bleeding. The Trench Pilgrims have stigmatic nuns. I don't know if I'm going to be able to show this fucking art, but they're ladies who are bleeding a lot out of their eyeballs. That is because the stigmata of the third Metachrist, who they worship, has his stigmata within his eyes. The 7th Metachrist will sometimes resurrect Trench Pilgrims and make them into martyr penitents. The only way to describe these guys is that they're basically zombies. They are brought back from the dead, they feel no pain, can be fighting with missing organs or limbs, and the only way they die is if they're utterly obliterated or disabled enough to where they can't fight anymore. My favorite thing about the Trench Pilgrims is that their war gear is insane, and it's not like crazy esoteric weaponry, it's just like, for instance, anti-tank hammers. They are what they exactly sound like. Hammers that are meant to punch through heavy armor by strapping a fucking RPG round to the end of a stick and slamming it into the enemy. This shit fucking hurts. And it's fucking good that it hurts because it's equipped by some of the most insane people in this setting who really fucking love martyrdom. One more faithful faction to give a rundown on. So we have to talk about the Great Sultanate of the Invincible Iron Wall of the 2 horns that pierce the sky, or easier known as the Iron Sultanate. The Islamic faction of Trench Crusade Judaism, soon to join us in the future according to conferences. These guys are, they're so fucking cool. Holy shit, they're actually fucking awesome. And I don't really say that much about Islamic media because I'm Catholic. It's not really a personal thing. It just doesn't appeal to me. Firstly, the land of the Sultanate is covered by a great regenerating iron wall. Why? Where did it come from? God. And that's not a joke. When the First Crusade ended and hell came into our reality, God looked at the Muslims and said, okay, this is not your fault. You get a head start. Here you go. And so there is a giant fucking wall that protects the lands of the Sultanate. Except for Alamut, but Alamut doesn't really need fucking protection. God knows that these motherfuckers knew ball. So the Sultanate is actually a really safe place to live, at least relatively safe in comparison to the rest of the world. All denominations of Islam this time aren't fighting each other that much because, hell is literally outside of their walls. And their fucking faction lore is so goddamn good, dude. I just want to give a hand to all the lore in this game because it's clearly well written, so well written that it has to be done by a man who knew Christianity very deeply. But also, the Sultanate lore is fucking amazing. Adeptus Ridiculous, specifically I think he's their writer, researcher, Possum, literally took the Sultanate lore to a professor of Islamic studies, and the guy said that this shit was good. First off, that's a flex. Secondly, that's just a mark of quality for the world that's being made here. I'm gonna go ahead and just warn you, I'm not Muslim, so if I get a lot of these words wrong, you know, they're hard for me to pronounce. I speak English, I don't know what to tell you. Azebs are the basic infantry, and fun fact, they're all unmarried men, as that is a requirement for them. Since the Sultanate is moderately safe, Azebs are recruited from men who, if they were to die, would probably not be missed, such as like husbands and the like. Yuzbashi captains, or which is, I'm told, translates to captain in Arabic, so Yuzbashi captain means captain, oh captain my captain. These guys are cool because, unlike the soulless British, Yuzbashi are only elected through merit. So much that every one of them might as well be a main fucking character, and they embody their entire belief as men who go out to fight for the name and the glory of Allah. And goddamn, do these guys do it so fucking well. They also just look like custodians, which I think is really fucking neat. Also a titty bird, but you know, some people don't like the titty bird, some people do. I'm not here to judge you. Janissaries are by far my favorite thing about the Iron Sultanate, and a Janissary in real life was basically the secret police who served the interests of the Sultan. At least that's my understanding. In Trench Crusade, they are still that, but there's a twist. Janissaries in real life were raised as children who were kidnapped during raids into enemy territory, so mostly Christian children. The same thing still happens to Trench Crusade, except Christians aren't the enemy this time. So who's the enemy? Ah, right. Janissaries are raised from heretic children born in settlements controlled by Hell, who are then taken in and alchemically altered before being determined if they are loyal enough to serve the Sultan and his interests. So, drugged up Hell children raised to be fanatical weapons of Allah. Alright, this is fucking sick, I'm not gonna lie. It also shows that the circumstances of one's birth do not damn them for all of eternity, as Janissaries are some of the hardest motherfuckers in this setting. But then we get to the alchemists, who are less chemists and scientists and more conspiracy theorists who are right. These guys are fucking insane. They have a little third eye that lets them see the building blocks of creation and make everything from lions of Jabir to brazen bulls. But then we have the assassins. These guys look sick, right? What if I told you they could fucking bend time? Trained within the mountain of Alamut, said to be the home of Solomon the Wise, assailed by the heretic forces for over a century and still standing strong, as Alamut itself cannot be invaded by the heretic armies. The armies of Hell literally enter the valley and die of starvation trying to find it. The assassins are the pride and the joy of Alamut and what they have to offer. Remember when I said that these guys were fine hanging outside the wall? Yeah. These guys are literally able to teleport around, manipulate time, and strike their foes. Literally, just by bending time, they can strike a person like 3 times. It's fucking insane. They're literally anime characters. Also, Mecca is surrounded by a massive, impenetrable sandstorm. Well, the Hajj is just going to be a whole lot fucking harder to do, huh? Oh, according to the lore, the Hajj is actually postponed because of the sandstorm. That's actually super fucking funny. Now it's time for the forces of Hell, starting with my personal favorite and probably the lowest on the totem pole when it comes to how strong they are, the Heretic Legions. Have you ever just fucking hated the guy who created the world around you and gave you life? Well, have no fear, as if you take a short pilgrimage to the gates of Hell, are so wicked that you don't burst into the flames and you make it to the gate itself, your skin will be charred and you will be granted with the rank of Heretic Trooper. You wanna know why I fucking like the Heretic Troopers? The most simple guys? It's because in order to be one, you have to be able to fucking hang. This isn't some renegade space marine bullshit. If you are not the worst fucking human possible, you will have your entire body set ablaze and forcefully kept alive but immobile, awaiting the day of judgment for God to put you out of your misery. You have to be a bona fide evil bastard just to be able to be the rank and file of this faction. I talk about writing Trench Crusade stuff a lot in my spare time, and that is one of the things that I had to explain to my chat when I was talking about it on stream one time, is that these people are not good people. They are not rebels, they are not freedom fighters. They are killers and bastards who want to see the world burn. And there are so many of them that 1/3 of humanity serves Hell. But what if you wanted to just walk into Hell, walk past the gate? The Anointed are heretic troopers who are so sick in their head, so cruel to their fellow man, they are able to push past the gate of Hell, go inside, and travel along the lake of fire, where the souls of the damned are tortured for all of eternity. Their skin becomes black, charred to a crisp, and they are adorned with armor that fuses to their wounded flesh and can never be taken off. If a heretic trooper is Hitler and a heretic legionnaire, which is a higher ranking of them, is Stalin, these guys are Mao Zedong. And we're not even done. They have literal slaves who are sold and passed around for either combat, or things I can't say, or literal flesh markets, or as spell components. And by flesh markets, I don't mean like sex stuff, I mean like cannibalism. But if a wretched is able to kill someone, like a high-ranking new Antioch officer, for instance, in melee, the Heretic Legions just let them go as they honor the first rebellion of Lucifer against God. I just thought that's so fucking cool. I think it's literally just like a thing in like the lore excerpt in honor of the first rebellion against the tyrant god Yahweh or something. It's so good. Also, yeah, the Heretic Legions call God Tyrant God. That's just a sick fucking title. And then my two favorite things, the artificial units. The Werewolf Assault Beast is a giant fucking werewolf with a chainsaw mouth and claws that are meant to rip men in half. But by far my favorite is my wife, the Artillery Witch. No one knows what they are. They're assumed to be automatons, but they're made within the death factories of hell, and these bad ladies are able to they're able to open up portals into the said death factories and lob hell bombs out at the enemy. They're completely silenced while doing this and are by far one of the most beautiful looking fucking pieces in this entire setting. Just look at her. God damn. If this isn't beauty, I want my eyes fucking ripped out of their skulls because nothing else looks good by comparison. The second faction in the Heretic lineup is the Court of the Seven-Headed Serpent, or more easy for people to understand, the armies of the Seven Deadly Sins. They are what they sound like. You pick your sin, your models get a buff and items associated with said sin, and that's how your faction works. They don't really have sub-factions. Their sub-factions are the sins. Despite how they look, these guys aren't demons, they're just demon kin. Creations made by demons, either alchemically or naturally in some cases. They are mutated, experimented, or just flat out fuck-ass ugly creations that are used to serve the interests of their devil. Wrath, pride, greed, gluttony, lust, sloth, and envy. These all have devils associated with them, and the seats constantly change hands, but the concepts stay the same. These guys specifically have access to magic, goetic magic. When a model in the army is damaged that is not a demon, or demon kin specifically, I'm sorry, the goetic spells suck away the wounds and use them to do crazy shit, like having this sniper guy teleport across the map, having this dude shoot people with the literal comet of Lucifer, so on and so forth. The Praetor is the face of the faction, but it's not even the coolest model by far. This, the Desecrated Saint, is the peak of what this faction is. It is what it sounds like, but not entirely. Saints in Trench Crusade are very important figures as they can become near mythical figures and do things, but sometimes the devils get their hands on the saints first, prying them away from God's light and corrupting them, making them into a mockery of what they were meant to be while parading them around for their own amusement. The visage of a weak, frail man curved up in a ball, surrounded by this creature of flesh and perversion. Frankly, it is one of the greatest representations of what it means to spit in the face of God in this setting. Oh, fun fact about Trench Crusade. People have asked me what's the point in fearing and fighting hell. If you die fighting hell, you go to heaven as long as you never fell, right? Right, about that. The Court of the Seven-Headed Serpent literally has weapons designed to damn your soul and drag you to hell just by hitting you. So, yeah, there's still a reason to be very fucking afraid. You can do everything right, but this Luger will send a Christian straight to hell. The last faction, sadly, as we get to the end, and I saved the best for last. Remember when I said that the seats of the court always change hands? They do. Except for one seat, and he only ever gave it up because he was too fucking good for it. Ladies and gentlemen, Beelzebub, the Lord of Flies, the King of Gluttony, and the creator of the Black Grail. The deadliest disease ever brought upon the world. How do I describe Beelzebub? He isn't Nurgle. Nurgle loves you as long as you accept his gifts, live in entropy, and welcome death. Beelzebub fucking hates you. Life is an insult to him. Health is spitting in his face. Beelzebub takes pleasure in watching your skin slough off your body, your bones rot to the core, and your organs begin to calcify into fragments as they crumble away inside of you. Beelzebub fucking hates you, and he wants to see you dead. For this reason, he is one of the strongest devils, as he abides by the pact of heaven and hell, but just throws super aids at us every now and again. His best creation, aside from the Black Grail, was Yersinia Rex, the hegemon of the Black Grail, a multi-story tall creature of thousands of diseased and rotting corpses encased in rusting iron. They made Europe nearly fall, and it took the life of a paladin to destroy it. Only two have ever been made. The second took the power of the living Saint Joan of Arc to destroy it. And fun fact, Beelzebub's hatred does not extend to just humanity, but also to his followers. Hegemons are wholly unique, and they can never be recreated the same way twice. So when one dies, it's a massive fucking blow to the Black Grail, and those who let their hegemon die fucked up badly. So they are cast out, shunned from the grace of the Black Grail, and are forced to walk the earth in great funeral processions until time itself ends. Beelzebub is a fucking asshole, and it's great. There's also just like all of his dudes, like the fucking, like, I forgot what they're called, like Plague Knights with like the weird mosquito tendrils that like reach out and spread disease everywhere. They also just look fucking outstanding. There's a plague dogs. There's like Herald of Beelzebub, which is just so fucking disgusting. Lord of Tumors, my beloved, probably the sickest fucking model, literally sickest model in the lineup. It's just so fucking good. There's just so, it's a breath of fresh air from like Nurgle himself, who is a lot more like funny, goofy, and still disgusting in a way, but this is just actually fucking foul. If you want to see some more fucked up shit, go look up the Great Hunger, and specifically the Mart God Hag, which is like their leader unit. Fair warning, it's pretty fucked up, the art specifically at least, but God, it is so good. Creature Caster, whoever's making your models, please send them to a psychiatric ward, but also let them keep doing what they're doing. Trench Crusade is such a fucking breath of fresh air in the entertainment space. It isn't trying to go for pure shock value, and it isn't trying to water itself down. It feels to me like the film Mad God. It is unapologetically what it is. It is disturbing, but it is beautiful. It is art made by a man who wanted to see their vision be fully uncensored and shared with the world. And I implore you, if you like what you see here, go watch Mad God by Phil Tippett. I think that's his name. He's the guy who did a lot of stop motion animation for like Star Wars and Jurassic Park, and he's basically like a god of stop motion animation for like mainstream media. Because the setting of Mad God very much feels like how Trench Crusade is. It is a dying world that is stagnant and is going to be stuck the way it is for possibly forever. And there's so many interesting things and cool characters and stuff, but specifically in Mad God, it's never really elaborated on. It's a film with little to no dialogue, but you just watch it for the ride and you just go with it. It is such a beautiful fucking thing. And it reminds me a lot of Trench Crusade. In a world where we have corporations who are dealing you out like dull slop, from Games Workshop to other IPs that I'm not going to name, because while they are smaller scale, they are still corporate. They still sometimes feel a little soulless. We get gems like these every now and again. And despite the turbulence that Trench Crusade had with its Kickstarter and its upholding its delivery on stuff and the 1.0 rulebook, Jesus Christ, I think it's still a game that's worth holding on to. The quote from the Bible this time around, since I feel it's appropriate for this setting. And as you said, behold, the Lord our God has shown us his glory and his greatness, and we have heard his voice out in the midst of the fire. This day we have seen God speak with man, and man still live. Thanks for listening. We have reached the end of this little intro to Trench Crusade, and I hope you liked it. I know I'm striking the iron dead fucking cold with this one, but I really love this setting, and I want to intersperse it here every now and again with 40k content. I'm sorry this video is super late. I've like I said, I've been busy and, you know, life. I'm feeling a lot better though. Don't worry about it. And I'm sorry, like this isn't the orc video. I know, I apologize, but been busy and, you know, stuff. I'm planning on having it out by Friday or Saturday. Hopefully it's gonna be possibly a longer one. I might have to just like tone down on the editing for this one like I've been doing recently, but you know, also I'm gonna try to have homebrew stuff out on the horizon, especially because I'm getting closer to moving and that stuff will be easier for me to make because I'm just talking out of my ass most of the time. As always, thank you to these channel members. I owe you all big time, despite I owe you all big time having not uploaded for a bit. Members video probably this week, something small. I recorded it yesterday when I was driving around. Mount Papa 11, Overdraft Perfection, Grim. Is it just Grim? Why do I feel like this name got shortened? It probably didn't. Envy, Zachary Y, Koyoshin, the God Emperor of R, Alexander McCabe, Ritz, Arctic Berserker, Adam M, Up, Up, Down, Down, Left, Right, Omidium, Captain Bubbles. Why did I say Captain? Oh, I gotta fix that. Hold on. Captain Bubbles. There we go. Coresport, Javier Soto. And an even bigger thank you to these absolute psychopaths. Oh, look, someone actually new joined. I didn't see that. Matthew Peter, Never Lost Man, Gap G, Dism, Vassalhab, Human Spirits Indomitus, Felix, Istra, Robbie Nito, and Ape Brain Esquire. This channel is only here because of you guys, and I want to just reiterate that every video. Orcs soon. I promise this time I'm gonna do it. It's just life, you know. See you guys later.